Hey, and welcome back to another episode of the Inside Lines podcast. I'm your host, Atoya Burleson.
And I am Tia Averill.
Coming up a bit later in the show, we'll be chatting with PR professional Gabrielle Manhertz. We'll also be getting into our hot take this week, where we'll be discussing the backlash Stephen A. Smith is receiving for defending Jerry Jones. But first, Tia, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. Very low key. We actually had a sick child, so it forced us to chill out. Yeah, both my kids have like seasonal asthma, and just with everything going on, like Xander, he was like, nah, he wasn't having it. But it was good though in that it forced us to sit our tails down, chill out. We did grab food from a friend's house, but came back home, played games. My tail played NBA 2K. What is this? This is 2022, 2023, whatever it is out there with my oldest kid. When I tell you, I don't know what they doing with these new game systems, okay? But I figured that shit out. I did end up winning, but I don't know how I won.
You're just pushing buttons.
I was just pushing buttons. I'm like, why they call me for another foul? But it was good.
I know the kids love that.
No, it was good. What about you? Awesome. How was your Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving was super chill for us too. So this is the first time since college for me that I have not hosted. I've always had people come over, come in town. And it's crazy because my oldest is a senior in high school. And this was the first Thanksgiving where it was just the five of us. It was me, Nate, and the kids. Nate, of course, had to work during the day, but he got off by 4, which means we could have Thanksgiving dinner by 5 o'clock. And it was so nice and chill. We ate and we slept. I slept. It was amazing, though. I enjoyed that. I've never been that chill before. And to your point, like, it does make you appreciate those moments of just being still and just relaxing and being in the moment. So I didn't play any video games, but my kids did.
Yeah. Did you guys watch the Thanksgiving Day parade?
Not really. My boys are so much older. They're like, meh, I'm good. And I think because they're older too, they kind of sleep in. So they slept in. Like I made breakfast. We had brunch, I guess I should say, around like 11:30. And then by that time, Nate was coming on and then the games were coming on. So yeah, they don't, my boys are like, meh. And Mia went last year. We had some friends in town, so we went. So they're like, yeah, we're good. How about you? Do you guys watch it on the West Coast? Because it's pretty early for y'all when y'all
It's early. Yeah, I have it on like background noise because I don't do any cooking for Thanksgiving, but I will do a brunch. Okay, so we had a nice little brunch situation. So do it while I was cooking. I was watching it. That's a bucket list item for me. Like I want to do Thanksgiving Day parade at least once with the kids before they don't care about it anymore.
I know, because it'll come up so fast. You'll be like, what in the world? Like, my boys are like, yeah, I'm good. Even last year when we went, they weren't able to go because they had football practice because they were going to state. So, and I was like, oh my gosh, guys, I'm so sorry. They're like, we ain't tripping. I'm like, y'all are so teenagers. I cannot. So yeah, that was Thanksgiving for us. Pretty chill, but in a good way, I'd say. Okay, that's enough about that. Let's get into this week's hot take. All right, it's time for this week's hot takes. Tia, what we got?
Okay, so this week we are discussing the backlash that Stephen A. Smith received for defending Jerry Jones. So if you guys have not been aware, there has been a photo resurfaced of Jerry Jones. He's like 14 or 15, maybe even 16 years old, but he is a part of a crowd that's blocking some black students from going into a high school, Little Rock. The kids became known as Little Rock 9, all the things. So the photo came out and, granted, Jerry Jones is 70-some years old, okay? And so Stephen A. Smith said, on First Take, he said, I'm pretty pissed off. I'm pissed off, but not for the reasons people think. I'm very fond of Jerry Jones, and I'm not hiding that from anybody. Is his record perfect? No. But I'm pissed off because he doesn't deserve what just happened. He doesn't deserve it. He then goes on to say that the photo was taken 65 years ago. and essentially saying you're going to bring up a photo of Jerry standing at this protest. No question that was happening. It's not something that anybody Black should appreciate, but it happened 60-something years ago. Mm-hmm. So my question to you, Atoya, is, do you agree with Stephen A. Smith's stance on this whole photo debauchery?
No. Because, for one, for Stephen A. Smith to say he's fond of Jerry Jones, for whatever reasons they may be, that's fine. I don't really care. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with being fond of someone. What he failed to realize is there has to be accountability. And mm-hmm. I don't think you should be, he wasn't doing anything malicious in the picture. Let me start there. But I don't think that you should be exempt from answering questions with mm-hmm. the nature of who you are now. Mm-hmm. And you're a billionaire, you're an owner. And let's be clear, you are around Black men all the time. So right. If I need to know, you have a duty and an obligation to answer that, period. I don't understand the outrage that Stephen A. Smith felt. We wanted answers to the questions, and we deserve that. Because at the mm-hmm. end of the day, all of these Black men have to look him in the eyes. They have to go out there and play for the Cowboys. So,
he answered. Did you hear his answer?
He answered, but he didn't answer. It was just I was young. My coach told us not to go, but I went anyway. I got in trouble for that, but I was just curious. Yeah, okay. So what is your stance? Mm-hmm. That's what we want to know. What is your stance, Jerry? Because let's be clear, when everything came out with Colin, his stance was teetering on the standing in the picture, blocking right. the gate side. Okay,
right.
And we are. I feel like that we are owed those. He just needs to explain those explanations. We are owed just the truth. And for Stephen A. Smith to feel like I am outraged, well, you know what? You should be outraged for those kids and what they had to go through. You should be traumatized for those kids. Mm-hmm. So that's how I feel. Tell me what you think, Miss Tia.
Okay, so I partially agree with him, but what gives me pause is, number one, I don't think Jerry Jones needs defending from anybody.
That part.
Especially not Stephen A. Smith. Like when you know what those kids went through trying to desegregate these schools, mind you, they didn't want to go to these schools. They had their own schools and they were completely fine. But by the government, they were forced to do so, right? And so I don't think Jerry Jones needs defending by any means.
I agree.
I agree with canceling, not being able to cancel somebody for some things that they did when they were younger. Especially mm-hmm. something 60-some years old, right?
Agree.
That notion I agree with. But what I don't like is, to your point, a lack of accountability.
Yes.
So instead of Jerry Jones saying I was curious. No, you should have said, I was there. I should not have been. That's not how I feel today. And we would be having a completely different conversation because you weren't trying to act like you didn't know what was going on. You said your coach told you not to go. So mm-hmm. so back to that whole, people have this innate ability to know right from wrong. Mm-hmm. So what people aren't going to be able to tell me is that they didn't know. Oh, I didn't know that was wrong. Right. No, you have that innate ability and your coach told you not to go.
Right.
Yet here we are. So his inability to accept accountability or just say, oh yeah, I did that. I shouldn't have been there. That's not how I feel today. My apologies, and move on from it. We would be having a completely different conversation. Because there's so many people in our sphere that we wouldn't agree with the things that they done at 14, 15, 16 years old. Hell, I'm trying to think. Did I do some questionable stuff? I don't even agree with my mistakes
from 14, 15 years ago. Right? None of us do. We're not trying to cancel him. We just want answers.
Exactly. Right. I'm not a part of that cancel culture. So accept accountability. We'd be having a different conversation. Exactly to your point of you have all these Black men who have been a part of your team, been a part of your organization that have brought you wealth, mm-hmm. that have brought you to the point where you are America's team. Accept accountability and apologize. Yes. Now, what I will say, and this is me on my conspiracy, I don't know, which we mentioned this a few or some weeks ago here on the show, mm-hmm. but I think the Commander's owner leaked this photo. Remember, he said, if I go down, everybody going down? Man, you remember when he said a few weeks ago, this is hearsay,
Yes.
Guys. This is hearsay. This is me just jumping
Tia's
into
opinion.
the conspiracy bin. But y'all remember he said a few weeks ago, if I go down, everybody going down.
Yeah,
so there was that
is true.
investigation with the Commanders that we still don't know what the hell came out of that investigation, but we know that the Raiders coach was fired last year for whatever was discovered in that investigation, but we still don't know what that owner did, but he is having to sell the team now.
It's
And
real hush-hush, y'all.
He's
How did he
taking
get
everybody
immunity?
down.
I want to know that. How did
Who?
he get immunity?
The Commanders, you talking about in terms of letting information out?
No, as far as people not knowing. Because let me tell you something. When these players do something, everybody knows.
You know it's the good old boys club, but whatever it is, you know they are essentially about to force him to sell this team.
Yeah.
And so he's taking everybody out.
Yeah.
He said, "I'm going
that's a
out
good
with
conspiracy. You said he's being petty.
He being petty Betty, okay?
I think you know what, though? What's in the dark will come to the light. Like, I feel like even though they're trying to keep this hush-hush, no one is saying much. It's going to come out. Eventually, it's going to come out. So we shall see. All right, enough of this hot take. Coming up next, our conversation with Gabrielle Manhertz. On the show today, we welcome Gabrielle Manhertz. She is an investor and public relations professional. She is also a health and wellness advocate and wife to tight end Chris Manhertz of the Jacksonville Jaguars. She is also a mother to their 1-year-old baby boy. Gabrielle, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you for having me. It is such a pleasure to be with you ladies. So thank you for that wonderful intro.
It's such a pleasure for us. I want to go back because what a lot of people don't know is your father, Kenny Easley, was inducted into the Hall of Fame. He played for the Seattle Seahawks, and his jersey was retired for the Seahawks in 2017. Let's talk about that. Congratulations,
Right?
first of all.
Thank you. Thank you. And you know what? Being handed, like for a long time, when you grow up in this space and they're your parents, you just see them as mom and dad. And so for the longest time, he was so uncool to me. I'm like, I don't know what he does, but the lights are wrong. We got clothes on our back and food on our bellies. So like everything was good.
Right.
And he was strict with parenting, both of them. And so he stopped playing when I was born. Due to a career-ending injury. And so I wasn't really in the thick of when he was playing. My brother was, but he was on the transition. So he became the football player to like around the house, being the dad, hands-on, and then businessman. And it was for a while, you know, I just didn't know the magnitude and his impact that he had, not only on the field, but also off the field, because that's important, right? And to see the Seahawks come back and show so much love, and the 12s, right? Like, we love the 12s. I'm a Jacksonville Jaguar fan at heart, but no one gets hyped like the 12s. And to see the
Seattle's
love.
special.
It is very special. Not even just because I'm born and raised from there, but it's just very unique. When you play in that stadium and you feel that energy, it's electrifying. Like, I didn't play on the gridiron, but I feel it. You know, it transcends through the body.
You did. Yeah.
Yes.
That part.
Yes.
That part. So when we came back and they honored him, it was beautiful. I mean, they do such a good job of just remembering who he was and, you know, showing that and displaying that. And every time we come back, it's always love. So I'm forever grateful. And I hold on to the Easley name because it's special.
Yeah.
I'm so proud. I'm so proud of him.
Absolutely. You should be.
Yeah, you know what you just said was so true about Seattle. Like, Seattle is just different. Like, yes, you know, Boston fans are diehard, Bills fans diehard, Cowboys, fill in the blank. Seattle fans are next level, but also the organization does such a good job of honoring their legends Like anybody
class.
can come into like anybody can walk into the facility and be loved and be appreciated. And like even the young players, because you know how sometimes young players be like, oh, you old. Like they don't do that. Because some teams, they do that. They like when somebody older come in and try to even, hey, maybe you may want to try this, or that's not a good look. They look kind of sideways, like you can't tell me nothing. They don't really do that. And the Seahawks, like they really appreciate their players. And when I told Cliff, like, you know, Kenny Easley, he was like, yo, you're interviewing her daughter or his daughter? It's like, they appreciate them, right?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Awesome. I'll have to ask Nate, because I know he's probably been up there multiple times, right?
Oh, yeah. Like, so my dad, he did an interview with my dad. And well, I mean, we watch Good Morning Football, and like we would always see him, and he's such a vibrant personality. So it's like, I remembered that. So he's definitely done some interviews, and even Super Bowl is like, we've seen you guys there. So it's like, we have shared this space. You know, I was just a fly on the wall, just, so unreal. Marveling. Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to tell anybody else. If y'all see us, come say hi. We are so easy to talk to. I promise you. Always come say hi.
I mean, now I know. But like, you know, it's like initially, now being in it, it's different. And I can see, but like I was so intimidated because like you see the perception of the wives and significant others through reality TV or just, you know, on social media, and you see all of this, the highlights, right? That like sometimes it's intimidating. I don't know if she's going to just snub me. I don't know, like, how do I come correct? So it's kind of like, it's like, all right, I see you, girl. Like, you look good. But it's like, I don't know. But if I see y'all, I'm saying, what up? Like, hey, y'all. Hey, girl.
Because you brought that up. What did your mom say about this space? Like, because she was clearly NFL wife, like husband was legendary. Like, what did she say about that space? Because it's interesting. We had Adrian Thomas on there too, and she said sometimes people are intimidated to like come up and say hi and stuff like that, but that's not the perception, you know, we want to have by any means. But what did your mom say? Like her experience was, and then like compared to your experience now.
So, I mean, she was like super OG, right? Like she's coming up. I always like joke. It's like the golden era. Like they were wearing leather helmets, you know, and wearing mink furs to the games, you know? Like she always said that like there was always still this like hierarchy. And this is me being transparent. She was like, there always seemed to be like this, like this hierarchy, you know, either you get, there's the Pro Bowlers, the amateurs, either you making millions, the thousandaires. And so like, she kind of like shared that with me. But one thing that she always told me is that if I just stay true to myself and don't look at somebody for like when they were drafted and all of that, just strip them down from all of their accolades and all of that and see them through their heart. And see and show up for them and meet them where they're at. The people that are for you will always be there for you. And when they see you, they'll feel it. Like, and I think that's something that's always kept me grounded, you know, coming up and now supporting my husband. And he's been on 2 different teams with the Panthers for 6 years and then the Jaguars for 2 years. And now I'm feeling a little bit older because he's on the back end of his career and the league year keeps getting younger and younger. So we have like, I mean, some of the girls, women that are coming in can't even drink. They can't even like, they're not even 21 and they're younger than my sister. And so sometimes, and so sometimes there's always like this curve. But I stick true to what my mom told me. And like, you just don't judge somebody because there's a lot more commonalities than we think. And we're in this together. It's truly a sisterhood. Like the men, it's a fraternity. You know, you make your experience. And I have had some real solid girlfriends that I have, you know, grown to love. And they're like family to me.
Right.
Nice.
So true.
Nice. I love that.
So how many years were you in Seattle? I know you said your dad retired or he finished playing in Seattle and you were born after that. Were you raised there throughout childhood or at some point did you move?
Yes. So I was born and then we made the transition when I was in middle school. And so then we moved to Virginia.
Oh, so you're there a while.
Yes. I was there for quite some time. And then we made the transition because my dad bought an arena football team with Bruce Smith.
So how was your transition from Seattle to Virginia?
It wasn't as seamless as I thought it was. Now looking back, I think when you're younger, you just kind of just get thrown into situations. You don't really look at the full picture, but you kind of, looking back now as an adult, like there was like some growing pains that I really went through, finding people that, accepted me, even the way that I spoke and the way I pronounced things, I was teased a lot, and I never experienced that in Seattle.
Doing what people consider proper English or speaking what people consider proper English.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
And for a while.
Why you talk like that? Why you sound like that? Oh, right.
I know. I'm sorry that I enunciate my words and I know how to articulate my points. I'm sorry. Like, thanks, Mom and Dad. Like, so it was challenging, in that regard, especially, middle school. Like, kids are mean. Like, kids are mean. And so it was challenging. But then the good thing is that my brother and I, we're really close in age. So we're only 2 years apart. So we kind of, once he left middle school and went on to high school, I was like shortly climbing, right behind him. So I always had him as that safety net to always feel, comfortable. And he was popular. So it was nice. I was kind of riding on his coattail. So the transition wasn't as easy, but I'm grateful for those experiences because it's like helped me now as an adult today. And I just, kind of use those as just tools.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. So you went to school actually during our little break, Toya, we were talking. So she went to school with Cam Chancellor.
It's super small. Yeah. So we went to high school with each other. He was 2 years older than me. But yeah, it was always just, again, like this 6 degrees of separation. And like he, went on and got drafted, and he's a Virginia legend too. And he played the same position as my dad, and my dad was mentoring him. And so it's just beautiful. This football world and this community it's big, but it's so small. So when you find these little, connections, it's just kind of like, wow.
It's refreshing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I decided, because my experience growing up in the Pacific Northwest, I was like, I just want to experience like just school days. Like it was always in the back of my mind. I was like, I always wanted to, like, I just want to be in that environment. And so I was just like, okay, where can I go? And I didn't make the best grades. I would just say I was just coasting and just kind of like,
you finished. By. That's all that matters. You finished.
I graduated. It was just top of mind. It was like not even up for discussion. Like I just wanted to go. Like my parents went to school out in California, and that's great and dandy, but I just wanted something to feel connected to my roots. And I was like, no better way than doing that than going to an HBCU and like getting that full,
experience.
Yeah. And it was the best decision I ever done in my life. And so I went there on a scholarship for basketball. So, I did my thing while I was in high school. So I did enough to get me a scholarship.
I know that's right.
Right? Okay. Because my dad was like, listen, I'm only going to pay for 2 years. After that. So it's like my dad always instilled like, listen, you better tighten up and you better get in where you fit in. You better figure out how you're going to get a scholarship or get some type of Pell Grant money, whatever it is. So I appreciate that. And went to Virginia Union University, and it just changed my life. It really was that stepping stone to like prepare me for the real world, in the world of where don't expect nothing from anybody. It taught me how to be creative and be resourceful.
Let's talk about you getting into PR.
Yeah, so I studied communications, journalism, broadcast journalism, and public relations. And so I always knew at an early age, like, my name is Gabby, so I love to talk. And the fact that y'all got me a mic, what? This is great. I was born for this, I'm kidding. But I always wanted to be on camera. And so, did my internships, did all that. And then I ended up doing one at CBS at a local news station and hated it. And I was talking to the anchor and she told me, she says, a lot of times it looks great because you're on the morning news, that people know you by face when you're in the city and, you get Emmys for this. But she's like, the career is very, very short. She was like, because it's based off of your looks. And if you start showing, listen, I know we got the melanin and I know we age gracefully, but I want longevity at the end of the day. And so she told me, she said, your best bet is to be behind the camera. And after that, I was like, okay, now I need to figure out what that looks like because that's where the money is, being producers and doing that. So took another internship, did behind the scenes. TV wasn't my thing. So then I shortly pivot and made my own lane into radio. And because I played basketball, I knew I love sports. I love talking, love interacting with folks. So I pitched this idea. Oh, let me take a step back. So it was my junior year in college. And I was telling Tia, I never got it out the mud, but there's this sense of I never had to ask my parents for nothing. Because I have. But as far as just having to get opportunities, I would put myself out there. And once I got in the door, I would then kind of they would just ask certain things because my last name with my dad. And then it was sometimes I did get peripheral treatment because they were like, oh, I know your dad. And I was like, okay,
which
great.
is okay.
Y'all hiring? Because this little stipend y'all giving me is not cutting it. But so I tore my ACL my junior year. And so I needed this internship to graduate. And so I emailed them. I was just maybe 4 weeks out of recovery. And so I was like, Dad, I got to stay in Richmond. I have to do this internship. He was like, okay, we're going to make it work. So I emailed the director. I was like, hey, I can't come in this day, but I can come in, in a couple weeks. I'm just recovering from surgery. He sent that email back so quick. Well, unfortunately, we're going to have to move on and give your internship to somebody else. Oh. Listen, when no is in front of me, I'm trying to get to yes. Yeah. And so it just makes me just work even that much harder. So literally, I remember it was yesterday. I wobbled in there with my crutches and my knee brace. And I stood outside. I got there at 6 a.m. at Radio 1 in Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, wow.
Now, I don't know who let me up and thought that, but sometimes if you just look the part, you will just kind of, go up there. So I got up there at 6 a.m. The morning show was going on. The receptionist wasn't there. The radio host from the morning show came outside. He saw me and I was sitting there maybe for 45 minutes. And I'm like, man, I'm just embarrassing myself. I don't even want to do this, but no, I'm just going to stay out here. Someone's going to come. Radio host comes out. He was like, are you one of the interns? Now, the devil on this side was like, yeah, just say yeah. Because technically you did have the internship, even though the director said that we're moving on from you. And the angel was like, explain yourself, sis. Be like, well, this is what happened. And I was like, yes, I am. I was like, I'm supposed to be reporting here, but I got here early. He was like, oh, come on in. After I got in that door and sat in that chair, I got a leg up from all the other interns because I was in there in the morning show, taking notes, learning how to use the keyboard, all of that kind of stuff. And I felt like that truly was a defining moment in my career because that told me that I'm going to get it no matter what it looks like. I'm not going to compromise my integrity, but I'm going to get it. Yeah. And being in there, that later turned into me hopping on the afternoon show and doing a little segment that would be a recap with sports. So it came natural to me. And then I told them, I was like, okay, well, how can I actually get my own commercial break in doing this and get sponsors? And I remember I went to the director and I was like, how can I do that? He was like, all right, we'll just do a tape and I'll share it with people and then we can see if we can get some sponsors. I was in there recording myself maybe 30, 40 times before I finally got it right. And I was cutting, splicing everything myself, learning, Googling how to do this kind of stuff.
Right.
And finally got Mountain Dew to sponsor the commercial where I did the recap of all the HBCU sports and stuff like that with all the scores and stuff.
So did you need the sponsorship to continue that segment or you just, okay. Okay.
Yes. And I wanted to put that on my resume.
Right.
That like, I was like, I actually got a national brand to sponsor my little commercial spot. Like that was important to me. Like, and I didn't even think about it back then like that, but it was like, for me, I just needed that validation that like, this was like syndicated through this amount of people. And I also got a sponsor to like support this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was important for me.
That is awesome.
That's a hustler. That's that New York mentality, boy. They don't take no for an answer, and they keep going until somebody lets them in that door.
Even if you're not even supposed to be there.
That's right.
You know?
They don't know. Look, they don't know.
They don't.
That's right. Okay, so you graduated and you went into PR. Was that like an instant move to New York?
It was 2 years. So after I did like the radio, that was in Richmond, and then I moved to DC, and that's where I got my first job with Viacom with BET Networks.
Talk about it.
And like when I really think about it, I'm like, dang, I kind of like have made some moves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I worked with BET Networks, and I worked on their event side of things. And so that was like the biggest thing for me, where I was like, I am in the Chocolate City. I'm in DC.
Right.
And I'm working at like, I grew up on BET. Like,
Right.
well, I mean, I was watching Uncut when I probably shouldn't be watching it. But like, listen, I was there and I was present and I did my job. And I remember I was able to go to the BET Awards, but my first thing that I ever did was BET Honors, which is hosted in DC every single year. And that was like my first moment being around like celebrities of like artists that like I listened to, and leaders, like prominent Black leaders, you know,
Right.
nationwide. Like I was in awe. And to know that like I was like escorting them, you know, on stage, behind stage, getting them to their seats and being behind the scenes, I was like, this is cool. Like this is fucking cool. And like I'm here. And like this was before Instagram. So I'm like taking photos and, you know, just like in the moment. And so then finally I did that, and I did that well, that like I asked my boss, I was like, hey, I would love to do BET Awards. Like I just want to just like do it, you know, because that's like the creme de la creme for BET.
Right.
Yeah. And so he was like, all right. He's like, now, if you're going to go to the BET Awards, we can't pay for you we can't house you, but we could pay for your train ticket. So I just hustled. I was like, I got to figure out how I'm going to make this work. Like, how am I going to be up there? They're not paying for my house, and I'm not calling my mom and dad. Like,
who do I know?
No.
Right.
Listen, it's like 6 degrees of separation.
Yep.
And sure enough, my old roommate, she was from New York. And she lived in the Bronx. And so I told her, I was like, hey, I'm coming up to the BET Awards, and like I'm gonna be doing the show. Do you think I could stay with you? And she was like, I can ask my parents. And sure enough, she let me. And then I told her, I was like, after the show, I'll bring you to like the party with me, and like we can just like be a fly on the wall or whatever. Yes. Right. So it turned out to be an amazing experience, and that was it. That was it. And then like I just kind of, you know, I made another pivot. So went from events to all of that. And I was like, I want to be more on the corporate side. Like I want to work with Fortune 500 companies. I want to work with big consumer brands. Like this is great. But I started to kind of like get a little bit like burnt out, because I'm like, it's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
And it looks good on a 3-hour telecast show, but like the work you have to go into it becomes a lot. And I just knew it just wasn't sustainable for me. And so I made the pivot to go into corporate. And so I worked for a global PR agency. And how I got in the door there, because I knew that they were like the number one agency you wanted to work with. They had all the brands on their roster, and I knew I wanted to.
Was it?
Oh my goodness. Burson Marsteller.
Oh, okay.
And now they're Burson Conan Wolf now. And they had global offices. So I'm like, well, how am I going to make the pivot and transition in there? So I literally saw an opening to be the executive assistant to the worldwide CEO. Now, child, I don't know how
Whatever that means. Listen, we're going to figure it out.
I'm looking at the description. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess I know how to work Outlook. I guess I know how to like type up emails. And like, this doesn't seem like too hard. I was in over my head once I got in there. First of all, he had 6 assistants.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, it was like the Devil Wears Prada. Like,
Really?
it was rough, y'all.
Ooh.
Like, rough. And I just was like, okay, I'm just going to grind it out. I'm going to grind it out. And I did get to travel a lot with the CEO, which was like an experience I never take for granted because I was really open to different things and meeting different people and making those connections that are still lifetime, that I still like, you know, talk with them every now and then, like either on LinkedIn or shoot a text or something like that. But that was like really big. So then got that job. And then I was like, okay, I'm not cut out to be nobody's assistant. Like, I got to figure out how I get on the brand side. Again, the mind is still working. I'm like, this is expired. Let's move on to the next thing. So then I was like, I saw an opening in the New York office. And I was like, okay, I need to get to New York because like, that's my Paris. Like, that I am chasing my Paris. And if I can get to New York, we're good. And saw this opening and they end up allowing me to take the job. Moved to New York, and
what was the role?
It was like not executive. It was an account executive. Okay. So it's like entry level
relationships. Yeah.
Yes. And so I was like, fuck it. Like, I'll take it. I just want to be in New York. And then once I get to New York, even if I wanted to go to a different company and go in-house, like once you're there, that's half the struggle in New York.
So true.
It's like you have to work. Yes. So I was like, okay, if I get there, I know I can like figure this out and just finesse. Like, cause that's all it's about, right?
Yeah.
You have to be good at your job, but you got to finesse a little bit of it. And so got to New York and I was literally living a dream. Like at that point, I had met Chris. And I was moving to New York. He's from New York. And it was just
y'all met in New York?
So we could take 2 steps back.
Okay.
So where Chris came into the fold. So I was in DC.
Okay.
You know, working at the agency. And he came down for an NFL PA meeting.
Got it.
And
okay.
but before he even got there, I had like slid in the DMs.
Okay.
And
so you knew he was coming or you slid in the DMs before he was coming? Okay.
Before he was coming.
Okay.
And so I just like slid in the DMs and it was something very subtle.
Okay.
And he was like, oh yeah, I'm coming to town. And so he came to town. He was a man of his word. He came to town. Now, even though him being a man of his word, he said, let's link at 7. Okay. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. And I'm like, where is this Negro at? Like, is he like making his rounds with all of his other girls? And then like, I'm just like the last one that he's going to try and, you know, da, 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 da. And sure enough, he like sent a picture of the charcuterie board. He was like, I'm still here in the office. Like, I promise you I'm coming. I'm like, that charcuterie board is from like, I don't know where you got that off. Right. It's all overpicked and everything. And I'm like, okay, but at least he's making an effort. Sure enough, we see each other and we go to a pub and that was like our first like, you know, link up and it was good. And so we were just talking, but then eventually, like I said, I got the opportunity to go to New York and he's from New York. And so I knew my college old roommate, but like, I didn't really have like friends there. And so God like really put me in the right place at the right time because I didn't know his family they didn't know me, but it just speaks to the kind of people that they are, is that his parents took me under and I would go over there every Sunday. I'd travel up on the 2 train to the Bronx and I would have dinner with them. They always make one thing about Caribbeans and Jamaicans, they gonna make sure you fed, okay?
Right, sure.
And I would always come up there, not only my belly being full, but my spirit and my soul being filled.
That's good.
And they were just so good to me, and I'm forever grateful. And I got to know his parents outside of him because he was in Charlotte. So like they got to get to know me without any influence of him being around. And so they really got to see me. And they saw me at such a vulnerable point in my career because like I had just made this jump and I was still trying to claw my way up the ladder. So they were like my parents away from home. So I'm forever grateful.
That is so rare. So you got to spend a lot of time with them before you got to spend a lot of time with Chris.
Now listen. Again, and so it's so interesting because it was great, but there was also a lot of times where Chris would have to tell me, like, Chris and I, we're pillow talking, you know, like I know his deepest things and, you know, we're not telling our parents all the things that we're going through and whatever. And so his parents, well, his mom, hi mom, if you're watching this, you know, but she would always kind of like add little questions there. She's like, oh, so what's going on with X, Y, and Z? And for me, I'm thinking that like he just tells his parents everything. So I'm over there chomping on some jerk chicken, being like, oh yeah, you ain't know. And they're like, oh, okay.
Wait a minute.
You telling all the business. Spilling all the tea.
Her name was Gabby now.
All the tea.
The gift of gab got the best of me. Okay. And then eventually Chris had to be like, you listen, I love you and I love my parents. But like what we talk about stays with us. So that was a moment in our relationship where I was like, okay, there's boundaries and he's making it very clear and I have to establish them with his parents. And but like they always been so good to me. Like, and I love them so much. And I call them mom and dad because they've done so much for me and, you know, in a sense of just support.
That is beautiful. Listen, I love my in-laws too, so it's rare, and I feel it when I talk to people, and I'm like, you know what, God, thank you, because you know what I'm saying, it could be a lot worse.
Legit, be like, oh, thank God I ain't had to go through this. Thank God I did not have to, because there's some horror stories.
Come on now,
horror.
Come on.
Ooh.
Well,
listen
thank you for
here.
blessing me with sanity.
Listen, okay, so you guys were dating. You were in separate states. When did you guys come together? Like, when did you have to leave your career? Did you have to, like, how did that transition happen?
Yes, Tia and I were talking about this. Yes, like that moment where it was like, you know, I was in New York and it's you know, as women, it's like we always have to pick one or the other. The men, there's not always much of transition. Like they have to deal with.
Real talk.
And so I'm struggling internally being like, Gabby, like you are here. You're in New York. You found your people. Like you are going to Ad Week. You are in the midst. You are the parties. You are like with everybody and you are chasing your Paris. But like in this story of Paris, like I also deserve to find love.
That's good.
You know? Aww. And I knew that I didn't want to look up and had missed my person that God had for me. And I struggled with it for a long time. Yeah. And so it took some time because we were going back and forth. Like he had a game and I would fly in and I was on that 6 a.m. flight right back, getting off the flight, going into the city and going to work. And it was rough. Yeah. But eventually I was just like, this isn't sustainable. And let him tell you, he would have been like, Gabby, you only gave me 90 days. And he was like, I'm moving in. But that's not how it happened. That's not how it happened. Okay.
I love how men and women always have different stories.
There was a lot of things that happened before I made the jump down there. But when I did, it was a couple years. And I was telling Tia that like, I just didn't want to play house. That was like the biggest thing. Yeah. Because I had seen that happen with some friends, with guys, their partners or boyfriends. They didn't play in the league, but like sometimes when you just move and you're moving for love, right? Yeah. And more often than not, you know, unfortunately, the success rate is not always that high because once you share a space with somebody, you really see how they live.
Yeah. And there's no commitment.
It's a little, you know, some of the things where you're just like, oh, it's fine. You like, damn, can you pull down the toilet?
Yes.
Damn, can you take the trash out?
Can you turn it on the right side? If you want me to do this laundry, can you turn it on the right side?
Yes.
Help me help you. Help each other, right? And so I remember I told him, I was like, hey, okay. So I was in Harlem and I shared an apartment with 2 other people. And I told him, I was like, all right, I have to lease my room because I'm locked into a contract. So I basically had to find somebody that wants to take over this 2-year lease. Because in New York, if people know, like they lock you in because they want to make sure that they get in their money. And rightfully so, because there's so much transition up there. So I remember I put it on Craigslist, all the apartment sites. I photoshopped them to make it look bright and airy, even though New York is gray as fuck. Right? I was like, it's going to be bright. You see city, you see Central Park. And girl, it was not really Central Park. It was like fucking bodega right there. And then you can kind of see the trees. But I was selling it in the description. Yeah. I was like, you getting 29th floor views and da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
So people started drawing to the ad. People start coming in, and I tell you this, everyone was like, they love it, but nobody was actually sold on it. Mm-hmm. I told Chris, I said, I'm gonna book a flight, a one-way, on this day. Whether if the apartment is gone or not, I am coming, and I'm gonna figure it out. God is my way. I literally booked a one-way flight, and I was stressing. I was like,
I know you were.
I'm like, people are seeing this, but nobody wants it. So finally, this student from NYU came in, and she was like, I'll take it. And she literally, it was the day before I had to leave.
Oh my goodness.
And I called Chris in just tears of joy. And I was like, we got someone. I brought her downstairs. I gave her the keys. I said, here, girl, take the apartment as is. You can take the bed, the AC unit. It is all yours. I don't want this. I just need my 3 luggage. And I'm going off to see my man. That's it.
That's right.
That's it.
That was your Paris. That was your City of Love moment.
Yes. And so I got to Charlotte, and y'all, that Paris, it was looking a little bit.
Speaking of moving in.
Child, I was like, this is, it wasn't what I expected. Yeah. And there was a lot of growing pains.
Oh, you mean you and Chris's relationship? Like that? Because
it's different when you have your space. Yeah. And you can talk and you can have conversations and then you can move on. But now you're stuck looking at each other.
Yeah.
How was that? In a 200 square foot apartment, okay? With 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and that's it.
That's it.
Yeah. And a balcony that it's not a lot of space. And so we're living on top of each other. Mm-hmm. And
how did your parents feel about this move?
I hid it from them for a minute.
You're like, I'm just visiting.
How did you hide the move? What'd you say? What'd you say?
Well, it's not like they were sending me postcards, to New York, being like, hello from Virginia, It was more so just kind of I made the transition, and every now and then my mom's like, oh, what are you up to? And I'm just like, oh, no, just going to the city. Still trying to portray this I'm going to the city. So eventually I told my mom.
Okay.
My dad was the last person that
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And my dad was very critical of me because he had seen me just climb in my career and how adventurous and courageous I was to make these jumps, that he didn't want me to be disappointed if this didn't work out. And especially with this man, there's no security in it. He didn't propose to me. He didn't do any of that. All I got is a verbal commitment. We gonna make this work, baby girl. And I'm gonna take care of you and all of that. But there was no ring or anything that, solidified it. So I was telling Tia a little short story is that, so we were living together at this point. My dad knows. He's not a fan. My mom is cheering for me on the sideline. She's like, it's going to work out, sweetie. You're doing a great job. And I'm just I need him. I need him to propose to me. And time is just going on. So Valentine's Day, my dad, Chris and I had just left dinner. We're on a high. It's Valentine's Day. Everything's going good. And I check my email and it's my dad. And he sends me this crazy ass email.
Oh my God.
And it starts off great. He's like, hey, Gabby, how are you doing? I hope all is well. Okay. I hope Chris is not cheating on you because he has not made a move and he knows what he's doing. He's dragging his feet, and if need be, I know people and I'll get you a condo so you have some assets. So if this falls through, you have something to fall back on. I mean, listen, he was
your
like planning.
Your dad is a savage, okay?
He said, I'm going to ruin your Valentine's Day.
I'm like, damn.
Wait a minute. And then he got you thinking like, was he know something? Wait,
I'm like, why? Who hurt you? And why are you projecting over here? Like, let me do me. Like, let me be happy. Like,
Let me figure this out.
And it's interesting because your mom understands that side. The mom, the female, they understand the side of love and like the things that you do for love. Oh, but the dads, men, they're logical, they're practical. They're like, no, this is not equate right here. This is not adding up. No ring. Yeah. You're jumping. Why? What are we doing? Right?
Very much so. And so it was hard because that was the first time also too, I had to like set boundaries with like my dad. And I'm a daddy's girl at heart.
Right.
But like, I also had to be like, this is my life. And like, if I fall, be there to catch me, like if I reach back and I'm like, hey y'all, like I need you, but like, let me fall on my face because
it's okay.
It's okay.
That's how you learn. That's how you grow. And it might work out, real talk. So
I'm just saying, I mean, now 6 years later, like we're married, we have a kid and like it all worked out. It's like that little bit of faith that you have in yourself. And I betted on myself. Like I bet on myself and being like, I'm going to do this and it's going to all work out. And when I got to Carolina, like I found a job. Like I was still like doing things for myself. I didn't give up everything.
Right.
I found a job in sports and PR and I went to Super Bowl. That was my first time activating around Super Bowl, not going as like, part of like the Super Bowl, with y'all and stuff like that and watching them play, but like actually being like on the ground, doing activations, working with talent, working with athletes. And it was, again, like this sense of purpose. Like I am where my feet are. Like I'm supposed to be here. And I never second guessed it. But the doubts started kicking in, as time was going on. He hadn't proposed. And I'm just like, even though this career is going good, he still hasn't committed to me. And like,
how much time had elapsed?
It was about, I know it may not seem like a lot, but it was about almost like a year and a half.
Okay.
And like when you leave
since
New
you
York,
moved in. Since you moved in. Okay.
And listen, sis, I was dropping hints. I was on Pinterest being like, ooh, I like this kind of ring. I love a brilliant round. I'm a size 6.5. Like I was doing it all, I mean, y'all, even to the point that I told him and he laughed at me when I told him. I was like, well, you know what? One night I was just fed up. I was like, you know what? You don't appreciate me. I was like, if you don't propose by this point in time, I'm packing my stuff up and I'm going to go move to Paris. I literally told him verbatim. I said, I am moving to Paris. And he was like,
side note, have you been in Paris yet?
Yes. Oh, and I got a story about Paris too.
Okay. Because you've been saying it. So I'm like, I wonder.
I'm trying to tell you, Paris is like, if I have a daughter, I'm naming her Paris because Paris has like such, that word has always just kind of been in like my story and in my journey. Like I've always, connected to like me chasing my Paris, whether if it's love, it's career or whatever that is, having a baby, and
I can relate to that. I just went this summer and it was the best. Like we went all over. We went to Florence. We went to, we went all over. We went to Rome, but Paris is special. Like it is a special city. So everything you're saying, it completely makes sense to me. Now before this, I'd be like, maybe I need to go because I don't know, but I feel everything you're saying.
It is. Yeah, no, Paris is dreamy.
It is.
It's
next
beautiful.
Level dreamy.
It really is.
It's so beautiful. But I'll say this, y'all, like, so he hadn't proposed to me. So we ended up going to Paris during the off season.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, this is the city of love.
He's going to do it here. It's right here.
He's going to do it, y'all. Like,
finally.
Cap. You got that? Cap. It didn't happen. We're on the Ferris wheel, and he tells the guy, he's like, can we go around one more time? Y'all.
You're like, this is it.
Like, yep.
Put my lips on.
Make sure these photos is it.
Yep. Y'all. And then they stop right in front of the Eiffel Tower. You know, it lights up.
Yes. You're like, this is it.
Y'all. I was like, this is my Super Bowl right here. It's happening. He's going to propose. So he's like, give me his phone. He's like, can you hold this? Everything what he did, he reached over in his pocket. And my heart is just like, oh my God, it's about to happen. He pulls out a stick of gum. He's like, you want some?
I cannot stand him.
I said, nope. I said, can we go? Can we just go? Paris was ruined.
Oh.
Paris was ruined. And so that entire trip, at the end of it, I asked him, I said, were you going to propose to me? And he looked at me, y'all, with a straight face. He said, absolutely not. And I was like,
but it sounds very predictable though, right? Like, so if I was him, I wouldn't have done it either. Because you would have.
See, I disagree because he knows that she loves that spot. He knows that she loves that place. So even if it's predictable, even if it wasn't at the top of that thing going around and around, at some point you better pull that ring out because you know how I feel about Paris.
Okay, so
but go ahead. We want to hear how he did it. Let's go ahead.
When did he actually do it, and how were you actually surprised?
I had no clue. I was on the last wing of. Listen, it was like the last straw. Time had another year went on.
Oh, so a whole nother year went by after this.
Yes. And we were at the rep meeting down in Biscayne.
Okay.
And we were down there, and my friend kept telling me, even my director, she was like, it's going to happen. Like, I know it's going to happen. I said, I am coming with him on a work trip. And like, this is just leisure for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to happen. He had ample of opportunities, birthdays, holidays had passed. Like, nothing had happened. And so it was our last night there. And he showed no signs. And we go to Topgolf in the day. Unbeknownst to me, he had called my dad while we were at Topgolf. He stepped away. I remember when he stepped away and everything, he was like, I'll be right back. And called my dad, asked for my hand in marriage. My dad gave him the green light. And later that night, we got back to the hotel and he was like, hey, and I should have known. Because this man is never like on time and being like, hey, we need to go. Like, come on, like get dressed and whatever.
Right.
He kept asking me, he was like, oh, put something nice on. Like all of these things. And I'm over here like, we're just going downstairs to the restaurant downstairs. Like, I don't need to get dressed up. And so sure enough, we get down there. It's a normal like date night. Get down there and having dinner. We go through appetizers, drinks, entree, get to dessert.
Okay.
Now, this is when things started getting a little weird. There was this woman, we're in Miami, okay?
Okay.
There's this woman that's like right in front of me, but sitting behind Chris. And I'm like, and she's like, has a cardigan on and she has her phone like this. So I'm telling Chris, I said, there's a woman behind you. I think she's like recording me. And he was like, what are you talking about? Like, just relax. Like nothing's going on. And I was like, no. I'm like, look, like she's like recording us. And he was like, Gabby, no, it's not. He looks bad. He's like, relax. It's nothing there. Sure enough, guy comes out. He's like, what do you want for dessert? I was like, oh, I want the beignets. Cool. He brings out the dessert, but there's this like big glass thing over it. And I was like, we didn't order this. And I'm like, he's like, Gabby, but open it. And I was like, no, I wanted the beignets. Like they have the beignets. This doesn't look like the beignets. Like I want the beignets. And he was like, Gabby, just open it. And I was like, sir, can we get the beignets, please? And he was just like, oh my God, like this woman's about to ruin the whole entire proposal. So eventually the chef asked me, he was like, open it. So I'm like, again, just unimpressed. I'm like, the smoke cleared and there it was. And he was on one knee and he was like, will you marry me? And, you know, it was in my mind, I had, again, this like Paris fairy tale proposal with a dozen roses, you know, and a videographer and all of this.
People doing the dances. Marry me.
Yes. Yes. And in true fashion, this told me a lot about who he is. Mm-hmm. He is a very under the radar. He's just very low key, and he doesn't like a lot of attention. And he always told me, he was like, if I'm going to do it, it's going to just be me and you. It's going to be very intimate. Like, I want to share this moment with you. And he stood true to that. And he did. And it's magical to me. That's my Paris.
That's your Paris. It wasn't what you thought Paris was going to be, but it was Paris. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. Yes. I love that. Thanks for sharing that story. Yeah, and I love that he was like, you're not going to persuade me. Look, I already know.
I know. He knew all along. It just needed to happen on his time without an ultimatum attached to it. Okay, so you guys have a 1-year-old. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank
Mommy.
you.
How has that transition been for you?
It's probably one of the most rewarding, and I'm pretty sure every mom says this, most rewarding thing ever, but it has been, even still, one of the most difficult things that I have and I'm going through. It's a lot. It's a lot. Like I love it, but it's hard. And in the process of postpartum and the hormones and just adjusting to, you know, being a wife and now being solely responsible for this little human it's a lot. Everybody wants something from you.
Yes.
And oftentimes I don't feel like I have anything that I can pour back into myself. And so I feel like whatever is left, I just want a nap.
Yeah.
Like, I just want a break. Like, that's it. But it's been challenging, but it's so rewarding and it's so beautiful to just look at him and the way he looks at me. And he can't say mama yet. He says dada.
Of course.
You know, it's special.
What has been more challenging? Is it because number one, I think when people become parents, nobody know what they're doing. Like, everybody just trying to figure it out. They guess and they get it right or better with the second kid, right? But has that been the most difficult, or has it been like, okay, the career wise, like you hustling, you were always career driven, and now you're kind of like taking a step back to fulfill this other role?
Making the decision to stay at home with our baby boy was like a big one. It wasn't an easy one. I was ready to go back, but it's being I don't like saying full-time, staying at home mom, you know, because when you're a mom, you're a full-time mom, like, right? Like, whether if you're working or whatever, you're a full-time mom. But like, being a stay-at-home mom is probably the hardest job that I've ever had in my entire life. Because child, you don't get no PTO.
Nope.
You don't get no sick leave. You don't get short disability. You don't get nothing. You get all the
work
snuggles
overtime.
and
you got to work overtime, whether they ask you to or not.
Listen, no salary can amount to what I'm doing for our child, you know? And so it's one of the hardest things. He's now he'll be 2 in July, and I'm itching to go back to work. Because my husband and I, we always talk about this when it comes to parenting. It's like, it's different when you are playing and you go to work, right? Yeah. But you're still chasing your goals.
Yeah.
I am full-time mommy around the clock. It's like the hamster wheel. Yes. So I don't have the opportunity to turn it off and turn it on. Like, I don't have that detachment for a certain amount of time. And so, you know, there was some jealousy, you know, early on. And every now and then it pops out, you know, and I have to like reel myself back in and ask God to, you know, just kind of like clear my mind and, you know, guard my mouth, because there's power in the tongue and I don't want to speak evil onto my husband. But there was a lot of jealousy because I'm like, you're chasing your goals and you're doing this and you're performing, and I'm just at home. Like, I have nothing for myself. And he was like, look around, you do. So like, he also had to speak life into me. You know, we always talk about the 80-20, and like, I feel like this first year of life with our son, like, he's been that 80.
Yeah.
You know, because like he has to speak life into me, even though his job is so hard. He speaks a lot of life into me, and I love him deep for that, because this has been like the biggest challenge and transition for me.
Yeah. And a lot of women don't talk about it, you know. I think we all go through it, but a lot of people don't want to talk about it. So I applaud you for talking about it, because we do still have our dreams. Even when we have babies, we love them, but we were still someone before we had them. And oftentimes that's forgotten, right? Like it's just, you're a mom now, but I'm still Atoya, but you're a mom now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, there's so much more to me than just being a mom. And some people want to just be a mom. That's fine. Like, to each their own. But there's a lot of women out there that enjoy getting it, hustling, working hard, doing something for themselves. And there's such a fulfillment from that you can't replace with anything else. So I understand that for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll be honest, like it's hard because before coming on this podcast, and you know, your assistant asked for me to write a short bio, and like I'm such an empath, because like I feel things, and I feel things deep, but I was struggling to find these words.
Yeah.
Because I was like thinking back, and I'm like, what do I have that like, how do I talk about myself? Because I always talk about myself through the lens of my husband and through my son, our son.
Yep.
But writing down that bio of myself, after I pressed send and I read it over, it was like affirming everything that like I am still smart. I am accomplished.
That's right.
I still can push forward, and I can do this.
Yes.
So this season that I'm in, embrace it. And to your point, it's short.
It is.
But I felt so validated, and when I was listing off all of those things, because the first is always like, I'm a wife, I'm a mother. But when you gave me my intro and said those things, like that really meant a lot.
It reminds you of who you really are.
Yes.
Yes. And you know, we talk to ourselves the most often, right? And the fact of the matter, when you are in a place like this where you're like, yo, like I'm trying to figure it out, we are so negative and we speak so harshly about ourselves, you need that reaffirming, right? So if you need to create a new bio every other week, do it, okay?
Listen, I'll introduce you wherever you go, Gabby. I'll introduce you.
Listen, you are an award-winning PR professional.
Yes.
They better put some respect on your name every time, okay?
And you'll be back. And you'll be back. You know how Jay-Z, he retired, he came back, right?
Yeah.
Ain't no different with us too. You'll be back. Don't forget that.
I appreciate y'all. Like this really lit a fire underneath me and recharged me. You know, I'm just so grateful for you guys to give me like this platform to just talk and share this and share my journey, because looking back, like, and just through having girlfriend talk with you guys, like it brought a sense of just like girl, like you did that shit.
That's
like
right.
you did it, and you here and you still standing, and thank God I don't look like what I've been through.
Yes.
When I'm getting turned down and having no's presented, or like you're not a good fit for this, or now the like, oh, well, you're his wife, hi, and then it's like it's all on Chris, you know, or the focus is always on the son, our son, and him, and I'm just playing the background,
right?
And I know my time is coming.
It's
like God is preparing me for this season, and I feel like, you know, sharing this podcast with you on this episode, it's like the way for me to close out Q4 so that next year in 2023, like I'm coming out guns blazing and being like, I'm here, I'm arrived, and like I'm ready, I'm hungry to get it.
Right. I know,
and this is my second act, you know, of my story.
That's beautiful.
And that's the purpose of this podcast, right? Like we are all driven women. and driven in our own respects, right? And sometimes life throws us a few curveballs. And I said before, like, you'll never regret the time that you spent pouring into your kid and being there for your kid in the capacity that you're able to. But there's always a second act. There's always chapter 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, like your story is not over by any means. So
it's only beginning.
I'm so excited.
It's only beginning, and we can't wait to see what you do. So we're gonna be watching. We're gonna be watching and cheering the entire way.
Absolutely.
That's what this is about. So thank you so much for sharing your time and your energy in the laughs. You are a hoot, and I hope we see you at Super Bowl this year.
Yes.
It would be so fun to see you there. So
Yes.
I can't wait to keep following. Okay,
Well,
before
thank
you
you
leave,
so
Gabby,
much.
tell everyone where they can find you.
Oh, yes. You can find me on Instagram. It's just my name, Gabrielle.Manhertz. And I'm on there. You will see lots of family football. I should post a lot more, but like I'll post my stories, but please follow along. I share little things, that could help someone, I hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's beautiful.
And I'll be sure to put links to her IG in the show notes. But thank you so much, Gabby. You are so fun.
Thank you so much.
What a fun interview. Gabrielle Manhertz, let me just tell you, girl, not only is she accomplished, but her energy and her story, so many women can relate to.
Absolutely. And the like Atoya just said, literally everything she was saying just about her experience and working and then like making a decision to take a step back. I'm like, girl, this is deja vu. Like, I understand the feeling, but let me tell you, baby girl is a hustler. Okay.
She is.
To show up at the radio station like, oh yeah, I'm the intern.
Right.
But
At
here,
6 a.m.
right
at that. Bright and
Right.
early. Yes.
Yeah,
she
but
was
she's so
amazing.
sweet.
Thank
Can't
you
wait to
so
connect.
much. Yes. We'll see you at Super Bowl, girl.
Yes.
All right, that's our show. For the latest on Inside Lines Podcast, please be sure to join us on Inside Lines Podcast on both Instagram and Facebook.
You can also listen online and share your favorite episodes at insidelinespodcast.com. And if you have any suggestions for guests you want to hear, topics you want us to cover, leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/insidelines.
Until then, I have the giggles. Leave it all out on the field. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.